Have you ever stood in a room full of people and felt like someone, somewhere, was missing? Not just anyone, but your person. The one your soul already knows. The one God designed just for you. Yeah, that feeling. That's not just emotion. That's divine alignment whispering, wait, watch. I'm showing you something. Let's talk about it. How does God show you your soulmate? It's not always lightning bolts and movie scenes. Sometimes it's quiet. Sometimes it's fierce. But always it's real. Before you ever meet the person God has chosen for you, the process doesn't begin with them walking into your life. It begins with God calling you deeper into yourself. That's the part most people skip. We think love starts when we lock eyes across a crowded room or when someone finally texts back. But divine love doesn't start with another person. It starts when God begins to open your eyes to who you truly are. He gently, sometimes forcefully pulls you back into your identity, your values, your healing, your purpose. He invites you into a sacred unraveling. All the roles you've played, the masks you've worn, the wounds you've buried, he starts peeling them away. Because until you're aligned with your own truth, you won't be able to recognize truth in another. This is where the transformation begins. God starts to highlight areas in your life that need attention, not to shame you, but to prepare you. He isn't punishing you with loneliness. He's positioning you for alignment. He'll ask you to confront parts of yourself you've avoided. Insecurities, codependency, unhealed trauma, unhealthy patterns. Why? Because he loves you too much to let you enter a divine connection while still carrying the baggage of a broken identity. A soulmate is not sent to fix you. They're sent to walk with you. And God ensures you don't place the weight of your worth on someone else's shoulders. Before he shows you the one, he teaches you that you are already whole. During this season, you'll feel a different kind of hunger. Not for attention or romance, but for purpose, clarity, and peace. You'll find yourself losing interest in shallow connections. Conversations that once entertained you will suddenly feel empty. People who used to validate your worth will no longer have power over your heart. That's God. Quietly, persistently, he's shifting your spirit. You're no longer searching for someone to complete. You're becoming someone who is already complete. And in that state, the kind of love you attract changes. You stop begging for crumbs when you know you are designed for a feast. This is also the time when God will isolate you, not to harm you, but to protect you. The noise of the world, the opinions of friends, the pressure to settle, the temptation to fit in, it all fades when he pulls you aside for a divine reset. In this space, he sharpens your discernment. You learn how to hear his voice. You start to recognize the difference between what feels good and what's actually good for you. God starts detoxing your life of emotional distractions so you can see with spiritual clarity. When he starts with you, it's because he wants you to walk into love with vision, not blindness. The beauty of this inner work is that it doesn't just prepare you for love, it prepares you for life. You step into rooms with confidence, not arrogance. You make decisions from discernment, not desperation. You know your boundaries. You trust your intuition. You've done the work. So when someone steps into your life, you no longer question, will they love me? Instead, you ask, do they align with the love I already carry within? That shift changes everything. Because now, you're not asking for someone to fill your gaps. You're inviting someone to match your growth. And finally, this journey inward becomes the compass for everything else. You realize that God never withheld love from you. He was preparing you to receive it in its highest form. He didn't want to send your soulmate into a version of you that was still seeking approval or living in fear. He wanted you to see yourself the way he sees you, chosen, complete, and radiant. That's the foundation. That's how he starts, not by showing you them, but by returning you to you. When that happens, the love you attract will no longer come from emptiness. It will rise from overflow. When love comes from God, it doesn't confuse you. It doesn't manipulate your emotions or leave you questioning your worth every night. It doesn't leave you refreshing your phone in anxiety, trying to decode mixed signals. Instead, divine love feels like peace. And that's how God shows you your soulmate. Not through pressure, not through chaos, but through a stillness that wraps around your heart like a deep exhale. It's not about perfection. It's about clarity. The right person, sent in the right timing, will bring a calm that silences every doubt you once carried. That calm is not silence from them. It's peace within you. That's the difference between something sent by God and something driven by your own unmet needs. A lot of people confuse intensity with love. They chase drama, believing it must mean passion. They mistake possessiveness for devotion, control for care. But intensity can be born out of fear, insecurity, or even trauma. True love, the kind God ordains, doesn't drown you in emotion. It grounds you in truth. When someone is from God, you don't feel like you're constantly performing, proving, or persuading. You don't feel like you're in a one-sided chase. There's mutual respect, honest communication, emotional safety. You're not battling to be seen. You're seen effortlessly. The relationship doesn't make you feel smaller. It invites you to rise higher, in peace, not panic. God doesn't use pressure as a sign. When someone is pressuring you into quick commitments, ignoring your boundaries, or rushing intimacy before trust has been built, that's not love. That's manipulation. And God doesn't operate like that. When your soulmate shows up, you won't feel rushed. You'll feel a sacred patience between you. A rhythm that honors the unfolding, that respects timing. Pressure makes you feel like you'll lose something if you don't move fast. Peace tells you that what's meant for you will never require force. If it's God ordained, it won't feel like a race. It will feel like alignment. This peace isn't just emotional. It's spiritual. When you meet the person God has for you, something within you will feel stable, secure, and certain. Not because of a fairy tale fantasy, but because your spirit recognizes safety. You'll find yourself breathing easier, not walking on eggshells. You'll speak freely without fear of judgment or withdrawal. You'll share your thoughts without bracing for rejection. That's what divine love does. It makes you feel seen and safe. And in that safety you grow. Not because you have to, but because you're finally in an environment that supports your evolution instead of resisting it. Many people stay in toxic relationships because they've never experienced the peace of a healthy one. They think love is supposed to feel like tension, like insecurity, like always wondering if today is the day they'll be left. But when God sends your soulmate, that narrative gets rewritten. You'll experience consistency, not perfection, but consistency. And in that, your nervous system begins to relax. Your mind stops overanalyzing. Your heart starts trusting again. Because the person in front of you doesn't just say the right things. They show up in the right way. That kind of peace is loud. You won't have to question it. You'll just know. At the core of it all, love from God removes fear. That's the ultimate test. Fear of abandonment. Fear of rejection, fear of not being enough. That kind of fear doesn't survive in divine love. Because when God shows you your person, that love becomes a safe place, not a battlefield. You don't have to shrink, hide, or settle. You don't have to chase or perform. You just have to receive. And that's where the peace lives, in the receiving, in the knowing, in the rest that says, this is what I prayed for, and this is what He prepared me to hold. When God writes your love story, He doesn't begin with romance. He begins with purpose. One of the most profound signs that you've encountered your soulmate is that your purpose starts to align before your hearts ever fully connect. It's not just about the chemistry, the sparks, or the butterflies. Those things can be misleading. What truly matters is the deeper connection, the mission you're both drawn toward, often without even realizing it. You might meet this person in the most unexpected place, not at a candlelit dinner or during a picture-perfect vacation, but while serving, building, growing. You're focused on your calling, fully immersed in becoming who you're meant to be, and suddenly, they appear, not as a distraction, but as confirmation. This alignment of purpose creates a sacred bond. When God brings someone into your life, they will not interrupt your mission, they will ignite it. They'll speak your language, not always in words, but in the way they show up, in the way they move, in the values they carry. You'll see their heart, and something inside of you will say, I recognize this. That recognition isn't based on past experiences, it's spiritual. It's the kind of knowing that doesn't require proof, just presence. They won't feel foreign to your future. They'll feel familiar to your destiny. And the connection won't just serve you, it will serve the world around you. There's a different kind of power that flows from two people who are aligned in purpose. It's not loud or flashy. It's quiet strength. It's unity. When you're with the right person, your impact multiplies. You don't just build a relationship, you build a legacy. You stop chasing short-term thrills and start investing in long-term vision. The conversations shift. Instead of gossip, you talk goals. Instead of competition, you celebrate each other's wins. You become partners, not just in love, but in life. And that partnership feels divine because it is. It's God showing you that love isn't meant to slow you down, it's meant to propel you forward. Another powerful sign is that your passions begin to mirror each other. Not in the sense that you're identical, but in the way you complement and sharpen each other. Where you're weak, they're strong. Where they're tired, you bring energy. Your dreams no longer feel heavy because someone is helping you carry them. You no longer feel like you're fighting alone because someone is walking beside you. And in that shared space, you begin to grow, not out of pressure, but out of purpose. Because when God sends your soulmate, He sends someone who not only believes in you, but builds with you. You also start to realize that love isn't just about what you feel. It's about what you produce. A relationship that is aligned with God's purpose will bear fruit. You'll see the difference in how you speak, how you live, how you lead. You'll start to notice that you are more disciplined, more joyful, more focused. That's because the right person brings clarity. They don't drain you. They don't distract you. They sharpen your spirit. They challenge your complacency. They remind you why you started, and they make you want to finish strong. That's how you know it's more than love. It's legacy. Ultimately, this kind of love shows you that purpose isn't something you chase alone. It's something that's multiplied in partnership. When God brings the right person, you don't lose yourself. You expand. The mission becomes clearer, the load feels lighter, and your vision becomes unstoppable. You realize that your soulmate was never sent just to love you. They were sent to build with you. And that kind of love doesn't just change your life. It changes everything around you. One of the clearest signs that someone is your God-sent soulmate is how your faith responds to their presence. When a relationship is divinely aligned, it doesn't pull you away from God. It brings you close. That connection will spark something spiritual in you, something deeper than attraction or surface-level compatibility. Suddenly you're praying more. You're seeking clarity more. You're hungry for God's voice in ways you weren't before. This isn't accidental. God sends people who awaken your spirit, not silence it. And that awakening isn't just about religion. It's about stepping into a higher version of yourself. The version that reflects your purpose, your values, and your connection to something eternal. When a relationship is not from God, it drains your faith. You become inconsistent, unsure, disconnected. You feel spiritual tension instead of alignment. But when someone is sent by God, you start to grow in ways that feel undeniable. You're reminded of who you are and who you're becoming. You're encouraged to stay rooted, not just in love, but in truth. That person doesn't try to become your God. They remind you of who your God is. They don't demand your worship. They inspire your obedience to a higher calling. That's power. Because you start to notice they're not just good to you. They're good for you. Not just emotionally, but spiritually. In this kind of relationship, prayer becomes your foundation, not your emergency plan. You don't just pray when things go wrong. You build your relationship on prayer from the beginning. You don't just ask God to fix problems. You invite Him into your process. You ask Him to guide your steps, to shape your hearts, to keep your connection rooted in something real. And the beautiful thing is, when you both seek Him first, everything else falls into place. Your decisions become wiser. Your conversations go deeper. Your bond becomes stronger. Why? Because your love isn't built on feelings. It's built on faith. This doesn't mean the person is perfect. It doesn't mean you won't have challenges. But their presence will never make you feel like you have to compromise your convictions to keep the relationship alive. That's the difference between divine connection and emotional addiction. God won't send someone who leads you into confusion, temptation, or double standards. He sends someone who honors your journey, someone who encourages your boundaries, someone who understands that love rooted in faith is not restrictive, it's protective. They don't lead you away from your purpose. They push you deeper into it. Another sign is how you start to crave spiritual growth together. You're not growing on two separate paths anymore. You're growing in the same direction. That means you're learning to navigate life through the lens of grace, patience, and accountability. You're asking deeper questions, having real conversations about values, future, and legacy. And even when disagreements happen, you both have the maturity to seek God first before letting pride take over. You start realizing that love is not just about chemistry, it's about character. And character shows up in how someone handles pressure, truth, and spiritual responsibility. What you begin to experience in a relationship like this is rare and sacred. You feel seen not just for your potential, but for your purpose. You feel supported, not just emotionally, but spiritually. You feel safe, not just physically, but in your soul. When God shows you your soulmate, He gives you someone who sees past your surface and speaks to your spirit. Someone who doesn't just love the image of you, they connect to the essence of you. That's the kind of connection that doesn't just survive storms. It stands because it's anchored in something eternal. Timing is everything when it comes to love, especially when it's orchestrated by God. Often we get so caught up in the idea of when love will come that we forget God is more concerned about who we are becoming in the process. You may think you're ready because you're available, because you're lonely, or because you're tired of waiting. But God doesn't operate based on your emotional clock. He operates based on divine preparation. He sees the full picture, what you can't see. And sometimes the delay you feel so deeply isn't denial. It's grace. God waits until both hearts are prepared, not just present. Until your spirit is settled enough to recognize real love and your soul is strong enough to hold it. God's timing is always strategic. There are moments in life where it feels like everything is finally coming together. Your career is rising, your confidence is strong, your vision is sharp, and yet love still hasn't arrived. That's when frustration creeps in. But in those very moments, God is often putting the final touches on something sacred. He's working behind the scenes, refining character, building emotional maturity, and orchestrating divine meetings that require patience. What feels like a pause is really a positioning, because when it happens, it will happen fast, and you'll realize why the wait was necessary. Nothing beautiful is ever rushed, and love, real God-ordained love, is worth every second of the preparation. One of the biggest mistakes people make is trying to force love before it's time. They chase relationships that aren't ready, or try to hold on to people who were only meant to be lessons. That's why timing matters so much. You could meet the right person at the wrong time, and it won't work. Not because they're wrong for you, but because you haven't become the version of yourself who can fully receive them. That's what God knows. That's what He's got. He's not withholding love from you. He's protecting love for you. And when He brings that person, they won't feel like a question mark. They'll feel like divine confirmation. Another powerful sign of divine timing is the way your heart responds differently. In past seasons, you may have clung to red flags, mistook chaos for passion, or settled out of fear. But as you grow and heal, you begin to respond with wisdom. That's how you know God has been working on you. The people who used to impress you now feel shallow. The cycles you used to entertain now feel draining. And suddenly you crave depth, alignment, consistency. You're no longer just waiting for love. You're ready to steward it. And in that readiness, God moves. Because He doesn't just wait for you to ask. He waits for you to mature. God's timing is also about mutual alignment. It's not just about your journey. It's about theirs too. Sometimes the person meant for you is also in a season of growth, healing, or surrender. You don't see it, but God is preparing their heart the same way He's been preparing yours. And when both of you reach that divine intersection, the timing won't feel forced. It'll feel inevitable. You'll look at them and think, I would have missed this if I got what I wanted earlier. That realization is humbling, because now you see the beauty in the delay. You see how God was protecting both of you from premature love that couldn't carry the weight of destiny. And when it finally happens, it won't be chaotic. It won't feel like chasing or begging. It will unfold with clarity and peace. That's the hallmark of divine timing. You won't have to second guess it. The doors will open. The communication will flow. The connection will be mutual. It won't be rooted in fantasy. It will be grounded in faith. And every delay, every tear, every lonely season will make sense. Not because you got what you wanted, but because you received what was meant for you. At the exact moment you were truly prepared to honor it. That's how God moves. Not on your clock, but always on time. When it comes to discerning your soulmate, God doesn't guide you through fantasies or fleeting emotions. He confirms through fruit. Not the kind of fruit that's glamorous or dramatic, but the quiet, steady kind that reveals a person's character over time. Anyone can spark excitement. Anyone can say the right words. But words mean nothing if they're not backed by action. Feelings fade, but fruit remains. That's how God teaches you to evaluate love, not by how someone makes you feel in a moment, but by what consistently grows from their life. The right person won't just tell you who they are, they'll show you in how they treat people, how they handle pressure, how they live when no one's watching. This is where maturity kicks in. You stop chasing potential and start paying attention to patterns. Does this person embody patience, kindness, humility, faithfulness? Or are you clinging to an idea of who they could become if you just wait long enough? God doesn't call you to build your future on potential. He calls you to build on proof. What do they produce with their time, their words, their habits? Are they consistent or chaotic? Are they rooted or reactive? Do they create peace or provoke confusion? These are the questions that matter. Because when it's from God, there will be fruit, and it will feed your soul, not starve it. The danger of fantasy is that it blinds you to the truth in front of you. You fall in love with the image, the possibility, the version of them you created in your mind. But God's love is not rooted in illusions. It's grounded in reality. He opens your eyes to what's actually there. And sometimes that's hard to accept. Sometimes you realize the person you want most is the one who bears the least fruit. And in that moment, God gives you a choice. Chase what looks good or wait for what is good. Because real love doesn't manipulate, mislead, or confuse. It carries the evidence of truth. Always. You'll also know someone by the way they make you feel long term. Not the butterflies of early attraction, but the settledness that grows over time. When it's real, you won't feel anxious or off balance. You'll feel grounded. That's true. You'll notice growth in your own life, spiritually, emotionally, mentally, because they don't deplete you, they nourish you. They hold space for your dreams, respect your boundaries, speak life over your struggles. That's not fantasy. That's God's design. And the more you're aligned with Him, the easier it becomes to see who truly belongs in your future. Another sign is integrity. Does their life align with their words? Do they follow through on what they say? Do they own their mistakes and seek growth? Or do they deflect, blame, and hide? When God shows you your soulmate, it won't just be about compatibility. It'll be about alignment. You'll watch how they treat others when it costs them something. You'll see how they handle seasons of testing, disappointment, and transition. Those are the moments where fruit reveals itself. And those are the moments where God confirms this one is real. Because real love doesn't waver under pressure. It deepens. It becomes more trustworthy when life gets hard, not less. Ultimately, fruit is God's way of protecting you from counterfeits. It's His divine filter. Attraction can deceive, but fruit never lies. It's visible, it's tangible, it's consistent. When God is in something, the evidence will follow. You won't be left guessing or explaining away red flags. You'll feel clarity, you'll see character, and you'll recognize that this love doesn't just make you feel something. It makes you become something better, not because it completes you, but because it complements the wholeness God already developed in you. That's how you know. Not by fantasy, but by fruit.